meeting to order of the Zoning Board of Appeals at 7:10. Let's do the fire evacuation. There's two ways out of this room. One is behind the audience, out onto the town green. The other's to the right of the audience, down the stairs, and out into the parking lot. Now let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, the roll call, please.
Andrew Abanowitz.
Here.
Mary Ann Turner here. Charlie Master Burney.
Here.
Rich Stroney. Christine DeBoni. Dana Palmer. James Byrne. Jim.
Here.
Gotcha. Can you hear him?
Yep.
Okay. So far, so good.
Okay. What's the story with the old business?
I need to make a motion to table motion on the stipulated agreement for Jarmark Real Estate.
Okay.
You have to second it.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay. Move on.
Okay. New business. Madam Secretary, the legal notice.
The Enfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a regular meeting on Monday, June 23rd, 25 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. ZBA 2025-0522, 23, 263, 293, and 295 North Maple Street. Appeal of the zoning enforcement officer's cease and desist order for violation of sections 8.40, 8.40.2, 6.10.2, 6.30.2, and original approvals of PH number 682, 2242, and ZBA 1979-0303, Tri-State Rentals LLC applicant and owners of 295 and 293 North Maple Street, Carrie Ann Nunes, owner of 263 North Maple Street, I-1 and R44 zone.
Okay. And I guess we have our folks here for the appeal. If you guys want to come forward, name and address for the record.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Monty Crow. I represent Tri-State Rentals, LLC, Scott Palugi, who's the owner of that company, and also I represent Fred Fieldhouse Jr., who owns Plaza Excavation. Just do a brief summary, and then we can get into it. This is Fred Fieldhouse to my right.
Before you get going, I just want to give you the option. You know, we only have 4 people tonight. If you wanted us to continue, we could until we have 5, or you can go forward with 4.
If you guys are okay with 4, we're okay with 4.
We're okay.
Yeah, okay.
Just want to put that in the record.
Thanks for the option. So tonight's appeal involves the use of properties located on Maple Street and North Maple Street. And the business that's been located there since 1978 is known as Plaza Excavating. That company was founded by Stan Jablonski Jr. in the early 70s at a different location, and it moved to its current location in 1978. The applicant, Scott Palugi, who's present tonight, Tri-State Rentals, inherited these properties and the company when Stan Jablonski passed away about 12 years ago. And the applicant has merely attempted to continue the operations in a similar manner as to the way in which Jablonski operated them. The appeal pretty much speaks for itself, but I'd like to elaborate somewhat. These 3 properties involved are in the construction activity, storage of materials, equipment, and/or vehicles. I'd like to stress that we are not an excavation company per se. Excavation involves the removal of dirt and materials from the ground and sale or transporting off of your property. We do kind of the opposite. We've been a material storage yard since 1978, whereby people bring in aggregate, construction debris, demolition debris, topsoil from foundation excavating. We stockpile it, we process it, we crush it, we screen it, we separate it into saleable materials, and people come in and buy it. And it's used for many, many purposes, either in the construction or agricultural or even residential industries. You know, you use some of our product to, you know, put the foundation and bed down for your driveway, for example, or riprap or, you know, topstone for a spillway in, you know, next to your piping in your yard. So again, you know, by way of explanation, we're really not, nor have we ever been, an excavation company per se. The biggest problem that I see, and the reason for the cease and desist, is that some of this activity spilled over into a residentially zoned parcel, and that would be the 263 North Maple Street. And we will absolutely state on the record that 263 North Maple Street has never been officially named in any of the previous public hearings as being part of this operation. And what happened over the years, as the pile of materials grew, it exceeded 293 and 295, and it spilled over into a couple of acres on this residentially zoned property. And there was a verbal rental agreement whereby the owner of that property, who's now deceased, that property's changed hands, rented some of those acres to Stan Jablonski. And, you know, just an arm's length transactions, and rent was paid every month, and it was used, and we will stipulate for the record that that was not authorized ever. And the reason I'm stating that is that we have ceased all activity on that property pursuant to the cease and desist. And I will then further state that Scott Palugi and Tri-State Rentals and Plaza Excavation, who own and operate and control 293 and 295, have entered into a real estate purchase agreement whereby the other 48 or plus or minus acres, I'm going to say to the rear, where these materials have bled over, there's going to be a real estate closing 7 days from today, and Tri-State Rentals will own all of those properties and control all of those properties. So we'll only have to deal with one entity rather than two or three. I think that makes it a lot easier to deal with from a logistical standpoint. I also want to state that Tri-State Rentals, once they acquire all of these properties, has no plans to develop the property any further than it already has been developed. So I know that's a concern for some of the neighbors and for the town. That's some really nice open space there, and we'd like to leave it as such. There currently exists a tobacco farm which rents their land. It's approximately 6 or 7 acres. It's been there for many, many years, and they have told us that they want to continue to rent that land for tobacco farming. There's some wooded areas. They will stay as they are, just continue to let nature take over. And as we know, there are some wetlands down there. So the use of these 3 properties, in our opinion, is construction-related activity. As I said, it's stockpiling, processing, and recycling of aggregate building materials. And again, most of this material is generated off-site by demolition and excavation activities and operations that are not located on our properties. This material is brought to us for processing and is then, after processing, sold back to the construction and agricultural industries and members of the public. A lot of people go there just to buy topsoil. This use has been ongoing since April of 1978 and was approved by the town as a pre-existing non-conforming use at a hearing in January of '78, and further acknowledged by the town as such in an interoffice memo in November of 2000 by then town planner Jose Geiner, and at a public hearing in March of 2001. The said use was described by Planning and Zoning Commissioner Tony DePace as a pre-existing construction use. We do not engage in, and we have not in the past engaged in, excavation activities per se on the properties. And as I said, that normally involves the removal of soil, rocks, or other material from the ground. Hence, the provisions of Section 8.40 concerning the requirement of a special use permit for an excavation operation should not apply. In addition, being that the outdoor storage activities are part and parcel to the pre-existing non-conforming construction use, the provisions of 6.30.2 subsection B, which were codified in 2022 concerning limited outdoor storage on industrial property, I state do not apply as well. The applicant does not engage in and has never engaged in a mining or a quarry type activity on these properties. We admit, as I previously stated, that none of this discussion about pre-existing non-conforming does not pertain to the residentially zoned area of 263 North Maple Street, as that particular parcel has never been mentioned in any previous hearings or inter-office memorandum. So we have a couple of options that we can propose to try to deal with this.
Before you do that, can you back up?
Sure.
I'm getting the properties confused. The
Yeah.
one that you're saying has never been, are you telling, because I heard you earlier say,
Yeah.
it's spilled, but we're stopping. You spilled over on this property,
correct.
but you've stopped.
We stopped all
Okay.
activity on that.
So go to that statement you just said about that property, that part you read about that
Well,
residential property again?
yeah, that
It's
particular
this
residential property was never mentioned and has never been part of any previous hearing or inter-office memorandum. Therefore, I cannot, in good faith, sit here and tell you that that's part of what I'm claiming is a pre-existing non-conforming use. That it was never made part of it. The only mention of it that I can find in the record dating all the way back to 78 is it was made part of a site plan that was submitted as part of one of the public hearings. And it actually shows stockpile of materials. I have it here with me, and Rick, I think you have the same thing. It shows 263, that's the property we're talking about, as having a stockpile of materials on it, as does 293 Maple and 295 Maple. But the address in the residential zone of 263 North Maple was never made part of any application. So I can't, again, in good conscience, claim that that's part of a pre-existing non-conforming. And we can deal with that, and I think that's really what, in my opinion anyway, I think that's really the crux of the matter and what the town really would like to see resolved. You know, you've got wetlands down there, you've had activity on the wetlands without a permit, which was, you know, we'll get into that later if you want, you know, as a repair, as an emergency repair of what I'm going to call it was a spillway, but it was basically a drainage of a pond, you know, underneath the road that had washed out. So we had to, you know, the owner of that property had to go on that property and do some work with riprap and, you know, some culverts and a mini excavator and just do some work, and we will make sure we retroactively file an application with wetlands for that work. It was done in good faith and it done in a nice manner. So hopefully that'll be approved and resolve that. But again, with regards to 263, how do we fix the problem of having this material stored there? There's a couple of things we can do. One is we can abandon the use and just say, okay, we're not going to use 263, even though Tri-State Rentals is buying it in 6 days, 7 days, and adding it on to its holdings. We can just abandon the use and eventually, you know, with a D8 Caterpillar, move what material is on that onto the industrial sites, grade it off, do some topsoil, plant some grass, you know, that's the end of that, and just leave it as open space. Or we can go before planning and zoning with an application for a lot line modification. Rather than a split zone, we can do a lot line modification, which will extend the I-1 zoning onto that section of 263 that has the construction-related activity on it, and include that in to the, I'm going to say, pre-existing non-conforming use. So those are the options. We are willing to do what the town wants us to do in order to resolve this. And that's basically our
ZBA is,
position.
we can't do any of those things.
I know you guys can't. That would be
Right, so we're
planning
just-
and zoning.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm just giving you that
The
information.
options of what-
Yeah, those are the options that we're looking at.
That you may take forward.
Right, so we are actively pursuing resolving the issue in one of two ways. So again, the appeal is, we understand the cease and desist on the residential zone. We're in agreement with that. We have a couple of alternatives to resolve it. We do not agree with the town's position with respect to the industrially zoned 293, 295 Maple. It is our contention that that has been and always will be a pre-existing non-conforming use. And we are simply continuing that pre-existing non-conforming use.
Can you have Rick do his thing?
Yeah, if you want. Staff, do you want to weigh in before we go through questions and public comment?
So on the cease and desist order, the violations listed, we'll start with the approvals, the variance, the rezone, and the change for the non-conforming uses for the two parcels, 293 and 295 North Maple Street. The activities there were approved through these variances. They gave them the approval to operate those businesses on those two parcels, not outside those two parcels. The expansion out into 263, for instance, the parking of tractor-trailer trucks, that's a violation in itself because 263 is a residential property. The buffer variance and the setback variances were for 295 and was reduced from 100 feet, I believe, at the time, down to 25 feet. And the same with the buffer. So that's not even in consideration because they've expanded outside their approved sites. And as for the 6.10.2 A, B, and D, those were the additional setbacks required. Because they've expanded, now those are by the wayside now because they've gone off their two parcels and expanded. So that's a valid violation, along with violations of their approvals because they've basically expanded out the two sites that they were approved for. As for the excavation operation or activities, I'm going to bring up some photos here, so. Try to do them in order. This is from 4/9/17, 2017, maybe. And you'll see that the activity's there. You'll see a
Can you see that?
water, that's good.
So we have those in the packet, I think.
See that there's a pond there also. You'll see tractor trailers parked over here. And you'll see mounds, and you'll see basically the topography that's there back in 2017. This is from 2019. Let's see if I can load this up at all.
Yeah, I know.
You see that if you look closely, the pond doesn't appear to be there anymore. and you'll see a little bit of difference to the topography and the area around and back. This is what the excavation violation is for. It's on the excavation activity that's taking place on 263. And just so you understand, 263 actually extends down. Right there is a property line.
Yeah.
These tractor-trailer trucks, for the variance for the buffers, it was for this property line here in the setback. So these trucks are now in violation of that also because they're right up to the property line. In some cases, they're actually on 263. Over here, this is 263. This property, so you understand, this is 293, and this is 295.
Okay, you're confusing me. So are the ones down by the road 263 and it flips around over here?
No, no.
Okay.
This is
Just that
this is
one
263.
Gotcha.
This is the property line that cuts 293 and 263. This is the property line, common property line. This property line over here goes to right, this property line right here goes to right here, and this is 295 North Maple.
Okay.
That's where the repair is, the repair facility.
You all set, Rick? Do you need any help with anything?
No,
Yeah,
I-
get it back on the screen. Excuse me. This isn't working.
It's not on there? It should be on there.
Well, I'm really.
I'll go
What did
fix
you
it.
think? I'm messing with you?
No, I thought we set it up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I throw something out? So,
Sure.
He's right. You know, those are violations that we got lax in how we were parking commercial motor vehicles and trailers, and we encroached on not only the 25-foot variance, we actually encroached onto residential property. And we were cited for that, properly cited for that, and they have all been removed. Every single one of those violations no longer exist.
And
But
and
Rick
that's,
is correct in his assessment.
okay, so, but that's in your cease and desist.
Right, all,
Yeah.
He's showing you that, but he's telling us it's corrected.
Yeah, we did. We moved all of that.
You're looking at me.
it may have been corrected, and I take their word for it, it's been corrected, but at the
Okay.
time, it was a violation, and that's what the cease and
We
desist
admit to
order.
that.
Right.
Yeah, we admit it.
Okay, so what else?
So
we got?
now we're looking at, this is strictly regarding now the excavation activities on 263. And again, you can see some of the changes here to the topography and the mounds and the roadway out and back here that they've created. And again, it's only 600 cubic yards of materials that needs to be moved to create a reason for an excavation permit through planning and zoning. And here you can see more changes in the topography of the property out and
What you're
back.
saying is the trees had been taken down, because I noticed that when I went out there. So when you're saying excavating, are you talking about just foresting it? And I'm using my words.
No, the trees that were just recently taken down,
Happened.
that just recently happened. I'm talking about the activity that you can't see out and back here.
Yeah, we
It's in the rear of the two properties.
Yeah.
So these are aerial photos that shows the changes.
But you're telling me that the changes are excavation.
Once they put something in the ground and start moving dirt out and back here, that's excavation under the regulations.
You mean even if they put it there?
Now, not necessarily if they put it there. If they deposit it there, that's not what I'm talking about. If you look at the landscaping here, you'll see that things have changed over time.
I have lots of pictures in front, but they're not marked, so I can't see what's first, what's second.
All right, I'm going in order chronologically. This is from April 13th of 2023.
Contour.
Again, you'll see that this is all changed in through here.
We didn't take it all off.
So if I can,
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
so it's our contention, and this is Fred Fieldhouse Jr., he's been there for 49 years, every day. All of that material was brought on to the site. We didn't excavate, we didn't buy that site and go in there with a bulldozer and dig up, topsoil and sand and sell it. It was all brought to us by, even the town actually has brought dump truck loads full of demolition material and highway demolition,
Well,
aggregate.
Can I just say
Go
one
ahead,
thing?
yeah,
Let's
jump
not-
right in, yeah.
Let's not
Please.
use the word demolition, other than we take and recycle concrete and blacktop. We don't do any kind of wood or shingles or any, drywall or anything like that. The residents from the landfill or the transfer station come to us if they have any brick, block, things like that or whatever. We crush it down into recycled gravel or whatever and sell it to various contractors in the area and whatever. Now, as far as those piles go, we put those piles there. So if you want to say we excavated, we pick it up with a loader and load it on a truck and take it somewhere else or sell it or whatever we do with it at the time.
I
So the
think-
topography could change because we may not go down as deep as it was. It may come up a
So
little
we
bit.
create the pile.
We
Right,
make the
that,
Yes.
what I'm thinking, Rick, can you go back to the picture that shows the difference? Because I'm thinking it's you took the trees down and then you dumped stuff on the ground. That's what it looks like to me. Doesn't look like you went in like an excavator like I
Right.
have.
Yeah, we never,
Right.
we did not
But I
excavate.
think you opened up the backyard and took the trees out and now you had more land.
It was pretty wide open in that
Okay.
particular area. I mean, around it was all wooded and whatever, as I recall.
Right, but
Yeah, but we didn't, like, what we're doing right now, we're not excavating,
no,
not
you're,
digging
you're,
holes in the ground.
right, you're
taking the
dumping
material.
stuff, but you're
Right.
taking the trees down,
I
right?
haven't taken
No,
any trees
let's
down.
just,
Yeah, I think that's external to what they're here for.
right.
Yeah, the trees were, any trees that have been taken down have been not on the pre-existing non-conforming industrial land.
Right.
It's been on the 263
63.
residentially zoned land.
Rick, what year is this photo?
Right down here is the dates, are the dates. So this is
That say
April 9th,
17?
2017. So if you look, here's a pond here, and if you look at this area here, when I go through the photos, you can just compare on your own as you go through to see the difference.
Look at that
Is it
pond.
a pond?
Yeah, but the pond, we've had, it's been pretty
The
dry.
other piece of the pond is over
Pond
there.
could
See
be
it right
gone.
there?
Yeah, it's right there.
Dried
Yeah, but
out.
he's pointing.
Right, it might not be a pond either. It might be
Right, it
just
may
where
just
the
be-
runoff because they
Right.
messed
Of course,
with
that
the site.
pond, just
Could just
getting
be
back to
retention.
the wetlands violation, when that corrugated pipe and its associated riprap was basically eroded by rainfall 2-3 years ago, the pond practically drained.
Right,
And that's what the current owner of that land fixed about a month ago in violation because there was not a wetlands permit taken out to do that emergency repair. So now you've got the pond back.
it's been, but again, this is we've had pretty dry years
Yeah.
to now.
Right.
I mean, so part of it could have been a little bit of that
Yeah,
too.
you're right.
So, but it's
absolutely.
probably filling back up again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's filled back up. I was down there today. Yeah, Mr. Nunez did a nice job with his work down there. And there will be a permit applied for.
You'll see that this area over here has changed. Before that was all grassed or whatever, this area has changed there. So there has been some, now it's a pile. That wasn't a pile before. If I go back, you'll,
Right.
Well,
They dump stuff.
they admit that, right?
well, I understand that, but there was grass and there was other material there first, before they put the pile there.
Yeah.
So they had to excavate something, dig something out to place that there.
Why can't they just dump on top of it?
If you look at it, that's not what took place. That's a mound. You can tell that that's a mound right there. That's a natural hill and mound. You can tell just by looking at it.
Can you say anything about that? What do you say about that?
We didn't really clear any trees or strip anything off. We just kind of filled on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I can't, piles come and piles go. I can't remember every one that was
Dump
there.
trucks full of stuff,
You know,
come
we
in,
took
you
a,
just pile in the back. I mean,
we took a lot of material when they did the Target store and dug the foundation over there. We had a pile of that there for a while. We sold it all off for fill.
So
I mean,
that's just a big pile.
you know, we have,
coming in.
we work with all the contractors that work in town, and, they have some extra material or whatever. We give them a place to put it and whatever, and we either process it or just sell it to somebody else, I mean.
But is it possible got grass growing on it and whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
you're right.
I didn't see it like I was gonna find a dinosaur bone in there.
No,
No, I don't think you would.
no, yeah, some of the material stays for a while. Just depends
Yeah.
on the demand for the product, whether it's topsoil or, aggregate, sand, gravel, riprap.
Rick, can you just go through it? Just give me the points of what we're here at the cease and desist. I've got that it has to do with 290-95. It was zoned, but 63 is the residential. There's the creek that's going on 63. Am I getting that right?
they expanded on to 263.
Expanded into 263.
Right, so that eliminates the variances, as they already spoke to,
Right, unless
and the
they put that
approvals
into compliance.
as they were approved.
Correct.
All right, this is still an expansion out onto the neighboring property of 263, no matter what.
The question I'm asking, okay, yes, they realize that, they're saying they realize that. If they are to pull it back, they can go back into compliance and those variants and stuff go back into effect. They've not actually gone away.
Well, here's going to be the problem.
Let me hear it.
When they started the activity here back in 1978, I don't know what this was. This could have been all, so if that's the route that you want to take, then they'd have to bring this all back to its natural state before. And I don't think that's what their intention is,
No,
and I don't think that's probably a workable.
let me ask it a different way. Are you saying that they've lost their zone, their variance because of the problem?
They haven't lost it, they violated it
They
in,
violated it.
they violated it in the approvals based on how they've expanded.
Right, so my question is, they bring it back and get into compliance, which is what he's telling me they're gonna do. They're gonna repark the trucks where they belong, they're gonna pull the material off 290, 263.
Right.
And that's what I'm hearing, I'm just trying to understand where.
Right.
I wanna make sure that we-
Even if that's done,
Yeah.
then fine, but the issue is the cease and desist valid for what took place out
Right,
there?
and we may have to uphold the cease and desist to let them get to the compliance. That's where I think.
That may be the
That's
course.
what I'm hearing.
That may be the
We're
course.
not- They want to fix it, we want them to fix it.
Yes.
We can't say you can't have the we take away the cease and desist, to be honest with you, you get to go like this, say, I don't have to do anything.
We're not asking for that.
And
No.
I don't think any of us,
No.
especially town, want that.
No, nor do we.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And truthfully, Monty, I 100% take you at your word.
Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, we're dealing with, not everybody was around 20 years ago when the Dalla Construction site that is now, a world-renowned Kenworth truck dealership was developed by Scott Flugie. And that was 3 years of pain and agony and hearings and red tape and environmental issues, and he's a man of his word, period. No discussion about that.
The excavation activity may be a little more complicated, but this photo here for the other violations is clear in that they received, the variance gave them a 25-foot setback variance, and,
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and also from the side.
Yeah.
okay,
The
Yeah, we-
issue,
We violated that.
yeah, so I'm just
okay.
you're right.
making it clear to show
Okay,
that these vehicles parked here, this is 263. The buffer would have been over here on the side and here on the side and in the front.
He's right.
and.
That's all.
We-
And you
we-
have a place to put those, so
Yeah.
they're not there.
Yep, we've already done it.
So that's been resolved.
Yes,
But we need to understand
yes,
that we have to hold the cease and desist in place
yeah.
so that you can go forward and make those changes.
We do understand, yeah.
Because if we say, you know you're gonna do it, and we take the cease and desist off, no offense, we could literally just say, hey, you don't do anything.
Yeah, no,
No,
We understand.
I don't want to have that.
no, nor do we. No, we'd like to resolve this amicably between everyone and just, move forward and,
So this may be a little clearer, and this is, I think, what you were talking about for the site plan.
yeah,
So 293 right here was an R33 at one point.
yes,
It was changed to an industrial 1.
I won, yep,
This was already I-1.
yep,
This is 263 that goes around and comes out to
It has
here.
that 100, that's, what is that, 100 feet right there? That strip? Yeah.
And that's the residential,
Yes.
which gives you options to do whatever you do with planning zone.
And that was back in 78, I believe.
That was, yeah, that was 78. And then in 80, that's when the piles started magically appearing.
This was the original subdivision.
Pecans showed up and, you know, the piles. Stan started putting stuff everywhere, so.
But soon that whole odd lot they're gonna own.
Yes, as of this coming Monday. Yeah.
And what you do after that doesn't have anything to do with this tonight.
No,
It'll take it to your next place.
should we decide to expand onto that legally, according to the bylaws and the zoning regs, then we'll bring that before planning and zoning. But again, I want to state for anybody that's here in the audience, you know, there were abutters that were notified. They may have some concern that there's going to be some development on that back piece, I'm going to call it, 263. The future owner, 6 days from now, has no desire to expand or do any operation, just leave it as is.
I wouldn't.
So you're gonna still be under cease and desist, and we're gonna have to move that.
Turn your doodad on.
Further questions from the commissioners?
Jim, are you still with us?
I am. Somehow my video got cut off, but I've been here on the phone the whole time.
Okay, do you have any questions?
The only question I had, it might be no questions. No question. It's during deliberations. I'll bring it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further comment from you guys, or?
Oh, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rick, you have anything? You're good?
No, unless you have questions for me, no.
No? I think we're okay. Do we have a motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Jim?
Okay, that passes.
Okay.
Now,
Jim, why don't you go with what your question is?
yeah, ask your question.
You were just talking about, Marion, you were talking about keeping the cease and desist in place. I was just wondering if an alternative is for them to withdraw their appeal as another way to have the same objective.
Rick?
I don't know if that's something they're interested in doing, but it might achieve the same objective and be another way to go about it.
I think they get more time if we uphold the cease and desist than if they withdraw.
So,
Or table it for a period of time while they get to compliance.
so if you uphold the cease and desist order, then that forces them to come into compliance with everything within the cease and desist. If they withdraw the appeal, then that does give them more time. I don't have to take any further action, or we don't have to go through any further enforcement, if that was the case. But they seem amicable about correcting the problems and the situation, so the withdrawal of it would work probably better on their side for giving you more time.
Yeah, but then how much more time?
2 months?
Yeah.
How much time?
How much time do you need?
How much time do you want?
Well, you know, we're gonna have to look at we're gonna have to weigh the options of bringing all that material, you know, back off of 263 onto the industrial zone, pre-existing,
Right?
you know, approved, or go for the lot line modification. I don't know how long that's gonna take in front of planning and zoning.
Well, the issue's going to be planning and zoning doesn't have meetings during August.
Right.
So you're talking September,
September,
probably.
October. Maybe we're gonna have to get a site plan, we're gonna have to get an A2 survey. There's a lot that has to be done to get a lot line modification.
If you were to remove, and if we just uphold the cease and desist, how much time does he get? As much as he needs?
It's up to you guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to, like I said, they're amicable about correcting the problems and
Right.
the issues.
Yeah.
How they go about doing that, we'll wait and see what they come to us with. It's as simple as that.
Issue a work stoppage.
Yeah.
Right, you'll keep moving.
Yeah, we'll keep
Okay,
moving.
so we're just trying to go through what Jim's question is.
Yeah, I understand.
The option is we uphold it, it's whatever amount of time.
Yeah.
You withdraw it, it's whatever amount of time.
Right.
I'm not sure which one is better or worse, or they're just the same.
Well,
Or we table and vote next month,
So the other issue, if
give them a delay.
they weren't so cooperative with this, and you had someone else in here not being cooperative, then I would say if you just had them withdraw, then there's nothing there for them to, not force them, but push them along to
Right.
correct the issue.
Yeah.
If you make a determination on the cease and desist to uphold it, then there's something there. If they go back and, if the other individual was to go back into violation, we'd have to start this all over again.
Okay.
So if you uphold the violation, it is what it is,
And they're, right.
and they're going to come forward
And
with
whatever amount of
applications that are
time you
required.
need.
yeah,
We're,
we'll do it.
right, but please understand, if you need time, just ask us.
will.
Just ask us, just don't leave it hanging.
Yeah, and this person's history, as you know, is, he will do what he says he's gonna do. If we need more time, we'll ask for it.
Just ask us.
I'd rather not withdraw our
Okay.
application, our appeal. I'd rather have this hanging over our head, force us to finish what we need to do. One way or another, we'll do it.
Okay. Anything else?
Just need a motion to,
Let me just say that we did have a meeting with all the principals in all this, I think it was on the 22nd of May, and we kind of went through different scenarios as to how to correct it, and it's pretty much in line with, the town just wants to get this all corrected and move forward. So,
Yeah, we appreciate that very much. Rick has been very good about all of this. And we know we've been in violation, and it just was something that happened.
Okay.
We'll correct it. We've already corrected most of it.
you have to make it.
Okay, we're going to move to making a motion, so I just want to make sure that is there anything else you want to add? Not that I'm,
No,
okay.
I've said everything I need to say.
I make a motion to approve ZBA 2025-0522, 263, 293, and 295 North Maple Street. Appeal of the zoning officer cease and desist order for violation of sections 8.40, 8.40.2, 6.10.2, 6.30.2, and original approvals of PH 682, 2242, and ZBA number 1979-0303. And just to make sure that we're all on the same page, commissioners, if you vote yes, you're not upholding the cease and desist. If you vote no, you're upholding the cease and desist. You got that?
And can I throw something in? I know you said I could.
Throw away.
So the cease and desist only applies to 263. Does not apply, what I want to make sure is the pre-existing non-conforming use of 293 and 295 is upheld. We are not in violation of any excavation permit or special use permit requirement.
Rick?
the activities that take place presently on 293 and 295 North Maple Street are approved activities. The violations all deal with the expansion out onto 263 North Maple Street.
Some parking.
Correct.
So those uses are all approved,
Okay.
and there's nothing saying that that's not a violation at this point in
Wanted that on
time.
the record. So,
Okay.
All right. Very
So,
good.
so commissioners, you understand? Jim, do you understand?
I understand.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you read oh, maybe we'll just vote on it if we're ready. So do we have a second on that? No, we didn't.
I second.
You did? Okay. So if we're ready to vote, let's raise our hands and then we'll ask Jim to say his vote.
Okay, so,
All those in favor? All those against? Jim, your vote?
Against.
okay.
Okay, and no abstentions. And I believe that's it.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, members of the board. We appreciate it. We'll take care of it. Thanks. Yeah.
Here's what's going on back there.
So we upheld the cease and desist.
As written.
That's right, okay. That's all I'm getting.
Keep it
Jim?
vague.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going, so what do we do about, we don't have his signature? Will he have to go in to sign this? Or can I just
Whenever
put,
he gets back.
okay, you don't want me to just sign for him with my initials?
He'll
Okay.
come in and sign, or I'll get it to him to sign, that's fine.
You have my authority to sign it.
Oh,
He's giving me authority to sign for him. I don't want it to be a problem.
no, if it's on the record that he's giving you the authority to sign for him, then that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead and sign it.
Just right underneath, like with permission on the record. Thank you.
Okay.
Do we want to do the approval of minutes while we have Jim on the phone?
Hey, Jim, hold on while we do the approval. Can you hear us still?
I can.
Okay, this is your chance to talk about that. This one's still junk, and I had a couple of questions.
Sure, go ahead.
I just have, on the approval of the minutes, under section 5, old business, I'm just confused. If it said upon a show of hands, the chair declared the motion tabled, not approved. Because we were talking about tabling.
No, we approved the motion
approved the
to
motion
table.
to table. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. And Jim, do you want me to mention the thing where you just, on number 6?
Yeah, it was just a little point of clarification. I don't have them in front of me, but
Okay, I've got it.
It was a vague pronoun.
So in this section where Commissioner Byrne questioned the timeline of appeal because the
yeah.
appeals must be made within 14 days,
Right.
it got confusing here. It really needs to say, Mr. Richelli stated because the planning staff accepted the appeal. He needs to be named because it implies that Jim did it.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure, that's fine. I'll accept that amendment.
Thank you.
Do we have a vote on this as amended? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
motion passes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank
you.
Do we have an attorney or any of that stuff?
I don't think there's any other reports. Staff, anything else for us? Or?
I make a
Okay.
motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. We appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you. Good night.